Mr. President, it is clear that we are meeting in the shadows of the gravest crimes committed and the gravest violations of the principles of the UN Charter since the Holocaust during the Second World War. The distinguished representative of Palestine has described more eloquently than I could of the slaughter and devastation that has been visited on Gaza by an outlaw Israeli regime. Israel has refused the calls by this Assembly, by the Security Council, and even by its patrons and friends to halt the massacre of innocents and accept an immediate ceasefire. The Israeli leadership has reneged on negotiated deals for a ceasefire. It has now initiated its assault on Rafah, which the UN Secretary General has rightly warned, and I quote, would be a strategic mistake, a political calamity, and a humanitarian nightmare, unquote. Indeed, there will come a day when Israel will be held accountable for the crimes that it is committing in Palestine, especially in Gaza today. And we shall work towards holding Israel and its leadership accountable for these crimes. Yet what we have heard today are insults. Insults hurled at the United Nations, at this Assembly, and at its member states. This is the arrogance of the aggressor. It reflects the impunity of the occupier of a land for over 70 years, trampling the inherent and charter-given right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. And we hope that the Assembly will appropriately respond to such insults, because I think it is contrary to the expectations of a member state and to the standards and practices of the United Nations. Mr. President, today the General Assembly is asked to take a first step towards a final settlement of the conflict, an important step to rectify the historic injustice against the Palestinian people. It was as a result of this Assembly's vote in 1947 that Palestine was partitioned between Israel and a Palestinian state. Yet only Israel is a member of the United Nations. The Palestinian people have been denied their right to self-determination since 1947. And after 1967, they have been obliged to live under Israel's brutal occupation. This General Assembly can partially redress this historic injustice by admitting Palestine as a full member of the United Nations. It meets all the criteria of membership. Its membership enjoys the support of the vast majority of the UN member states. It is regrettable, therefore, that Palestine's membership has been blocked in 2011 and again 2 weeks ago by the negative vote of one permanent member of the Security Council. The assertion that Palestine's admission can happen only through negotiations reflects the inequity of this position. Negotiations must have a level playing field. If Israel is negotiating as a full member of the United Nations, so too should Palestine. Mr. President, the adoption of the draft resolution contained in document L30 Rev 1 will determine, I'm sure with the near unanimous support of member states, that Palestine is qualified for membership. It will urge the Security Council to reconsider and endorse the admission of Palestine as a full member state. In the meantime, the General Assembly would accord all the rights for the fullest possible participation of the State of Palestine in the General Assembly and other UN organs and conferences. This exceptional measure applies only to Palestine and does not constitute a precedent, as the resolution states. The adoption of this resolution will be a partial yet vital step towards redressing the historic injustice against the people of Palestine. It will reflect a political reality which would facilitate the revival of a peace process to realize the universally agreed objective of creating a two-state solution, the objective of establishing a viable and contiguous Palestinian state along the 4 June 1967 borders with Al-Quds as its capital. I thank you, Mr. President.